Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching my video. Let's dive into it. There are two teams in the NBA that are at crossroads this upcoming season. One, we will have to see what happens when two of their top players make their return in the 2022-23 season. That will be the Denver Nuggets. The other one has been trusting the process for some time now, and unless there are some significant roster adjustments this offseason, they could find themselves treading water as the NBA Eastern Conference teams like the Detroit Pistons, Atlanta Hawks, Orlando Magic, and Charlotte Hornets appear to be turning things around. That team is the Philadelphia 76ers. An unfortunate injury to Joel Embiid derailed the 76ers' chances at potentially going to the NBA Finals. Many question why Embiid was still on the court with such a big lead. Was it contract incentives? I don't know. I still believe we can trust the process for one or two more seasons before a major overhaul is imminent or becomes imminent. The 76ers have not reached the NBA Finals since the 2000-2001 season when Allen Iverson, Dikembe Mutombo, and Eric Snow lost a hard-fought finals 4-1 to Kobe and Shaq. That was the infamous final where Allen Iverson stepped over Tyronn Lue. Yeah, they lost that series 4-1 to Kobe and Shaq's Los Angeles Lakers. It's very difficult to get back to the NBA Finals. Just ask the Milwaukee Bucks and Phoenix Suns. 1983 was the last time the 76ers won an NBA championship, led by several Hall of Famers including Dr. J, Maurice Cheeks, Bobby Jones, and Moses Malone. Along with Earl Cureton, Franklin Edwards, Marc Iavaroni, Andrew Toney, and others, they defeated the Milwaukee Bucks 4-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals and steamrolled the Los Angeles Lakers 4-0 for the title. As I compare that roster to the existing roster, I see a few moves they could make to possibly bring the NBA championship back to Philadelphia. Then that miraculous shot by Kawhi Leonard won't sting that much for 76ers fans. These are just my opinions. Would love to hear yours and what you think in the comment section. And thanks for the time watching this video. Again, these are my thoughts. To keep it simple for those who leave harshful comments, let's see you create a video and let's judge you. So here we go now. I will provide a link in the description and videos for some of the players you may not be familiar with. One of my emphasis in all this is to get Joel Embiid some help so he's not forced to carry the load alone in the paint. Enjoy. So we have scenario 1 here coming up, and just see here real quick. So what you're looking at now is options that are available for free agent signings for the Philadelphia 76ers. You see several listed there. One is with Tyus Jones, Derrick Jones Jr., DeMarcus Cousins. The other one has Zach LaVine, Brent Forbes, Dante DiVincenzo. Sorry if I messed your name up. Nothing personal. He did destroy the Michigan State Spartans in the NCAA tournament, but I'm a big fan of yours. Cassius Winston, Yusuf Nurkic. The next one is Thomas Bryant, Eric Paschal, Bol Bol, Hamidou Diallo, and Ivica Zubac. The next list is Bruce Brown Jr., Victor Oladipo, Otto Porter Jr., Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson. And the last option, I don't know if you can read that one too well, but it's Jeff Green, PJ Tucker, Blake Griffin, Elfrid Payton, and Theo Pinson. Out of that set right there, which one would you pick, or which one do you think that I'm going to pick out of here? I'll give you a second to take a look at them. Alright, ding, time's up. So this is where I'm going with this as far as free agency is concerned. Let's see which one is left standing here. We will start by removing this one. And next we will remove this one. Next one we're going to remove, it's kinda, this is a tough one here. We'll get rid of this one, which brings us down to our last two. And the one that I'm going with on this particular video is this one here. So as far as the free agents are concerned here, Zach LaVine, shooting guard; Bryn Forbes, shooting guard; Dante Vincenzo as a shooting guard; Cassius Winston as the point guard; and Jusuf Nurkic as the center. And this is just a two-part series on Philadelphia 76ers, whether we go from here, 2022-2023 outlook. As you know, barring something miraculous, which I don't know how that's going to turn out because of what happened with the Ben Simmons situation and him not being available to play in the playoffs when that trade was made. There was speculation and hope, but that series didn't go far enough with the Boston Celtics for him to get time in. So I don't know how the Nets feel about that, because if Brooklyn delays their draft pick until 2023, then the Philadelphia 76ers will in fact have a draft pick. They will draft number 23. That's if Brooklyn has no hard feelings about what went down with the deal for Ben Simmons. That's part of that James Harden deal. So, but in extent, just go over my free agents that I'll pick for them. On this one, as I said before, free agents that I have will be Zach LaVine. And with him, you pretty much get a starter there. 6'5", 200 pounds. He averaged 24 points per game last season, 4.6 rebounds per game, and 4.5 assists per game with the Chicago Bulls. Other big name free agent I have is Jusuf Nurkic. Pretty big on this guy here at the center position. The Portland Trailblazers average 15 points a game, 11.1 rebounds, and 2.8 assists per game. He can probably get you about 2 blocks per game. I think he has some injuries that he was dealing with this past season, but he will be a quality big man to back up Joel Embiid. That way you can get Joel Embiid off the floor at times without sacrificing too much on the offensive end. Next will be sharpshooter Bryn Forbes. Played with the Denver Nuggets this past season, and he still has skills. You know, hopefully he can get back to what he was when he was with the San Antonio Spurs. But he did average 8.8 points per game, 1.2 rebounds per game, and 1 assist per game with the Denver Nuggets. I mean, they were really heavily stacked, and Bones Highland was coming on strong, so I think that contributed to the lack of playing time there for Bryn Forbes, but he's still pretty good. Next is shooting guard Dante DiVincenzo, currently with the Sacramento Kings. I like him, man. He's a pretty good player. He can light it up from time to time. He averaged 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 2.8 assists last season with the Sacramento Kings. But I do think he has a bright future in the NBA as well. I think he was part of the, maybe I'm wrong, I know he was part of the Milwaukee Bucks at once upon a time, but I'm not sure if he was there when they won the championship. But pretty decent shooter, pretty good scorer. I know he lit up Michigan State in the it was either Michigan State or Michigan in the NCAA tournament a few years ago. Next, speaking of Michigan players, will be point guard 6'1", 185. And this is really intriguing because this guy was really highly I don't want to say sought after, but I mean, he was one of the best players in college basketball at Michigan State University, and that was Cassius Winston. Cassius Winston. And I know he's been bounced around. I think he was drafted by the Lakers and then wound up going to Washington and may have done some time in the G League. But to me, he's one to watch. I'm hoping he doesn't have the same type of NBA career as Trey Burke. I just think Trey Burke wound up playing on. He showed flashes from time to time. Actually, I think he might have played with Philly a few times, but no, that was the Knicks. I think it was the Knicks in the G League. But I just don't like the way his career wound up going. He was drafted by the Jazz and had a lot of promise, but I don't know what went wrong there. He never developed into what I thought he would develop into, and as far as an NBA star is concerned. But Cassius Winston, I just think he needs to get to the right organization and be given the right opportunity. Some people argue with me, but I do believe I played sports before, and you do have situations where you have coaches that have their favorites or coaches that stick to their guns and don't try anything else, and therefore you might find yourself sitting on the bench. And some people say, well, that's what the G League is for, but still I believe if you had a few more teams in the league, some of these guys would get opportunities to actually become superstars. So my best wishes to Cassius Winston and wherever he winds up, but I think Philly will be a good place for him. Could be Allen Iverson 2.0. I just think he deserves that opportunity. As far as the draft is concerned, like I said, if the Nets don't hold a grudge and push that draft out to 2023, player that I have that I would pick for the Philadelphia 76ers. By the way, going back to the stats, I mean, Cassius Winston only averaged like 2 points a game, 1 rebound a game, 1 assist per game, but he's a lot better than that. He just needs to be given a chance. But as far as the draft is concerned, if they do wind up getting that draft pick in this scenario, I would have them going for Ryan Davis, 6'8", 250-pound forward out of Vermont. Guy averaged 17.4 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, and shot 58% from the floor. I think that would be a good pickup for them at number 23 if it comes down to them being able to utilize that pick. If not, the undrafted free agent that I'm looking at is a guy named Colin Welp, and this guy is out of, he's out of UC Irvine, and I watched some film on him, and he's a 6'9", 225-pound power forward, and he puts you in the mind of Nikola Jokic. I'm not saying he's the next Nikola Jokic, but he does have the footwork and the skill set of Nikola Jokic. Colin Welp, and like I said, 6'9", 225 pounds. This past season, he averaged 13.8 points per game, grabbed 6.6 rebounds per game, and averaged 1.7 assists per game. So looking at his numbers, he does have the potential to have a few triple doubles throughout the season. Under the radar player, and if he's there for the taking, I would most definitely jump on him if I was the Philadelphia 76ers. I know there's a lot of other guys out there, and who's going to be available at that position as far as undrafted free agents are concerned. But this is one name that sticks out right in front of me as far as someone that would be an asset to the Philadelphia 76ers. Moving on, as far as the trades are concerned, one trade scenario I have is trading Danny Green. And by the way, folks, when I do these, I guess you could call them mock rosters or mock drafts or whatever you want to call them. What I do try and see to is that I don't basically dog players out. You know, I don't want to take a guy and put him on a team that's struggling to get out the cellar of the NBA standings. So I try and do right by the guy, so you know we don't get a situation where we're sending him to a team that's not going anywhere for at least the next 3 or 4 years. So I try and take that in consideration as far as trades are concerned. So one of the first trades I have proposed is, and I looked at the salaries on these and they work out pretty well, is Danny Green and Georges Niang to the Denver Nuggets for Will Barton. Will Barton's 6'5", 181-pound small forward. He's capable of lighting it up and taking over games. Sometimes he does take ill-advised shots. It just makes you cringe. But when he's on, he's on. I mean, he could carry you for a quarter out of any game and just be the go-to guy in any game. And I think some things that transpired this past postseason with the Denver Nuggets and some of the shot selections and the timing of the shots made him not so much of a fan favorite in Denver. But yeah, I think he'd be a good asset, another scorer, take some of the load off of Harden and off of Embiid. He averaged 14.7 points per game, 4.8 rebounds per game, and 3.9 assists per game. And like I said, being out in the Colorado area and watching a lot of Nuggets games, when he's on, he's on. You know, when he's on, he can play like an all-star and shoot the lights out. But it's just those ill-advised shots, but you can't fault the man for trying. But yeah, it'd be a great asset for the 76ers. And like I said, not dogging anybody out. Danny Green is still has a few years left in him, and the Denver Nuggets really are trying to beef up their defense. And Green is known as a defensive player, so I think that will work out. And as far as Yang is concerned, I mean, who knows what he's going to become? He might become a journeyman in the league, but yeah, that's one deal I would make. Now, one of the big deals, and I did see someone else propose this as well, so I'm not taking it from them. This is mine. And it kind of looks similar to what I've seen a couple of other people propose, but I'm just going to break it down a little bit further and tell you how this could happen. So this will be a major trade right here, and this trade will involve Tobias Harris. Always been a Tobias Harris fan. Tyrese Maxey and center Charles Bassey going over to the Utah Jazz for 7 foot, 270 pounds center Udoka Azubuike. Just be an extra person to back up Nurkic and Embiid. You know, you could put him in and give those guys some breathing, some resting time on the bench. Also in that trade, I will have shooting guard, 6'5", 205 pounds, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I've heard his name kicked around a lot as far as trades are concerned and whatnot. And by the way, him and actually the other guy on this particular trade proposal, they're pretty young, 25, 23, and 22 years old respectively. But Alexander Walker averaged 10.6 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, and 2.4 assists per game. And he's been, like I say, he's been a hot name as far as trades are concerned and whatnot. But yeah, I have him proposing this trade going to Philly as well. And last but not least on this particular trade proposal would be none other than Donovan Mitchell, 6'1", 215 pounds. Some people are saying he's disgruntled out there in Utah. I don't know how true that is, but if there was a place for him to go, to me, it would be going to the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, he could be an important piece to their success as far as getting to the finals and possibly winning the championship. And like I said, I love Tobias Harris, but and Tyrese Maxey has a bright future too, and I think Utah would benefit greatly from those two individuals. And as far as the style of play is concerned, with Donovan Mitchell and Tobias Harris, you pretty much get the same style of play. Tobias Harris is a little older, but he's really aggressive, and I think with some of the players they recently added to the 76ers, they've taken him out of his game quite a bit. So yeah, that will be my proposal there. And by the way, Mitchell's averaging 25.9 points a game, 4.2 assists per game. I'm sorry, 4.2 rebounds per game, and 5.3 assists per game. We all seen what he can do. I mean, he's dynamite. He's a dynamite player, and I think he pushes the Philadelphia 76ers one step closer to that championship. And by the way, Utah is another team. You got like this 3 or 4 year run where you get close and you get close and you get close, and then all of a sudden, you start losing players, and you get free agency come around, and those runs towards a championship ends. So, like I said, after 3 or 4 years of trying, you have to shake things up a little bit and make some big moves, and that's one of the big moves that I have pertaining to this. And another player that I would trade for, this is not a blockbuster trade, but this is another player that comes from that same mold as Draymond Green out of Michigan State. And he's coming along now. And that will be Xavier Tillman from the Memphis Grizzlies, 6'8", 245-pound power forward, averaged 4.8 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, and 1.2 assists per game. But I think he's a tough, fierce competitor. Like I said, he comes from that same mold of Draymond Green at Michigan State University. And I don't know what's going on with some of these. Well, I'm not going to say that. It doesn't have anything to do with the coaches. It just takes a couple years for them to come along. So I think he has a bright future ahead of him. And I will trade guard Jaden Springer over to Memphis. And like I said, I'm not trying to dog any players out with the trade proposals. I'm putting them in situations where they could possibly flourish. And Jaden Springer is a young guard, and I think he find his place in with the Memphis Grizzlies. And but like I said, Xavier Tillman will just add to the beefiness at the front court for the Philadelphia 76ers. Like I said, just to take a lot of pressure off of Joel Embiid, and James Harden can relax a little bit. He doesn't have to be the man all the time, although he can be. But you got a lot of other players that you could spread the rock around to. As far as my starting 5 for this unit, is pretty obvious. This is one surprise here for you. Of course, you have Donovan Mitchell. I'll move him to the point guard position. James Harden will be moved over to the shooting guard position. Joel Embiid remain the center, big man in the paint. Newcomer Zach LaVine will play small forward, and power forward will be Colin Welk, the rookie, undrafted free agent. Like I said, if you see some of the footage on him and what he's able to do, you'll understand why I put him in the starting lineup. I mean, this guy, like I said, he plays like a Paul Gasol / Nikola Jokic, and when you see what I see as far as his footwork and his style of play is concerned, you'll agree with me putting him in that position. Now moving on to the second unit, point guard Cassius Winston. I know you're gonna beat me up for this one. Dante DiVincenzo as the shooting guard. Kind of feel like I'm in school where the teacher has you write it over and over and over again until you get it right and pronounce it right. But no hate on him. He'd be the shooting guard in the second unit. Center will be Yusuf Nurkic, and you won't witness that much of a fall off between him and Joel Embiid in the paint. I mean, he's not going to light it up and give you 30 and 40 points a game, but he'll hold his own in the paint. Uh, Small forward, as I said before, about Will Barton, he can light it up. He can actually be put into the starting position many times as well. But I have him in the second unit on here. No hate on him. Just with Zach LaVine being a little bit younger coming in, got to go with Zach LaVine as the starter. But Will Barton, no knock on him. He could be injected in the starting lineup at any time. And at the power forward position, I have Xavier Tillman. So you got some beef there in the paint, you know, to contend, especially with the Boston Celtics. But even more than the Boston Celtics, you know, everybody's trying to stop Giannis or you know, to get themselves some kind of edge or whatever to slow down Giannis. So that's why I have so many of these big men on here. And as far as the reserves are concerned, we have Forbes, Alexander Walker, Thibault is still a member here, and Korkmaz is still a member here, and power forward Ryan Davis. Like I said, that depends if that draft pick is pushed back until 2023 by the Brooklyn Nets. So yeah, that's just my first I guess you call it mock roster rebuild for the Philadelphia 76ers. Now moving on to the second one that I came up with, and I do appreciate you all watching this and bearing with me here. So this one I don't have to worry about messing up Dante's last name. So I'm going to get it right, Dante. So on the second one, what I'm looking at here is as far as free agents are concerned, I have them going with I will go with Kevon Looney, power forward from the Golden State Warriors. He should get a huge payday coming up. Dennis Schrader as the point guard from Houston. I know he has some ups and downs in his career and some injuries and whatnot, but when he was on with Oklahoma City, and especially with the Atlanta Hawks. So that would be a player I'll most definitely sign. Also, shooting guard Gary Harris, he can give you some defense as well. He used to be with the Denver Nuggets, and I mean he'd take on the toughest task of guarding the I guess you say the superstars most of the time. You see him guarding the Donovan Mitchells out there and whatnot. So I most definitely would bring him on. Actually, he could score the ball as well too. And also from Orlando Magic, free agent. I don't know if they're going to re-sign him or not. I mean, they got the top pick in the draft, so they got options. Got a lot of options to make. Would be Mo Bamba. I know his name has been kicked around with several teams, but I mean, you have a dynamic duo with he and Joel Embiid. And another player that I have following into what I was talking about with Colin Welp is center Raji Lyons, 6'11", 280 pounds, out of Nicholls State. Big fella. Averaged 7.4 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, and 1.5 assists per game. Shot 51% from the field. When you see some of the footage on him, you agree with me that would be a good player to come in and actually give you another dominant force in the paint. And like I said before, my goal is to get Joel Embiid some help so that he's not out there, having to play 48 minutes a game. Same thing happened with Nikola Jokic this season as well. But like I said, the Denver Nuggets were missing a couple of their superstars. So a lot of the plays went through Nikola Jokic, and sometimes I looked and I tell myself, wow, we got to find someone else to score, or else we're just going to run them to the ground and get them exhausted when we need them in playoff time. So, like I said, that was just my goal as far as getting Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers some help. So, yeah, Raji Lyons, 6'11", 280 pounds, out of Nicholls State. I don't think you can go wrong with him. Moving on to the trades, this trade scenario isn't as big as the other one that I had in the first one, and like I said, uh, the second roster I came up with, this is taken in regards that they have no picks in the draft, so that's why I said Raji Lyons is the undrafted free agent, should be available. Trades. One trade I will make would be Danny Green, Georges Niang, Jaden Springer, and center Charles Bassey to the Phoenix Suns. I know the Phoenix Suns are going to be making a few roster moves, so why not get in on it and see what you can get from them. So what I have in this scenario is acquiring Jay Crowder, power forward Jay Crowder, and Torrey Craig, in exchange for Danny Green, Yang, Springer, and Charles Bassey to the Phoenix Suns. Other trade is Furkan Korkmaz going to the Washington Wizards for Hachimura. He was a young 24-year-old power forward, big guy. Averaged 11.3 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, and 1.1 assists per game. Bright future ahead of him. Another big player that would, help Joel Embiid out in the paint. Next trade is Thibault going to Sacramento for power forward Trey Lyles. I like Trey Lyles a lot. He's been bouncing around from team to team, but he's always contributed wherever he went. Last team he was with was the Detroit Pistons. Broke my heart when they made that trade and traded him away from Marvin Bagley III. I always say, and this is a different subject, is that the Detroit Pistons are well when they have a Kentucky Wildcat on the roster. They do pretty well. But I will have him going into Philadelphia for Thibault from the Sacramento Kings. And another trade I will make, this is not that big of a trade, but it would be Paul Reed, small forward, and Isaiah Joe, shooting guard, to Orlando for center Mo Wagner. Wagner is really good, and like I said, it's just one of those things where sometimes these rosters are so deep that you may not get your opportunities, or your opportunities may be limited. And I believe that he would fit in well with the 76ers also. Now, as far as the lineups are concerned with this one, I have a starting lineup of James Harden as a shooting guard, Joel Embiid as a center, and you hang on to Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris will be your starting power forward. Tyrese Maxey will be your point guard. And let's see here. Let me find my place here. Apologize for that. Let's see here. Who do I have in here starting out? So let me go back to this. So James Harden is a shooting guard. Tyrese Maxey is your point guard. Joel Embiid will be your starting center. Tobias Harris will be your starting power forward. And your small forward would be Jay Crowder. Have Jay Crowder starting as your small forward. Second unit would be Dennis Schrader as the point guard. Gary Harris as the shooting guard. Mo Bamba as the center. Hachimura will be your power forward. And Trey Lyles will be your small forward on the second unit. And with your reserves, you will have Shake Milton, Kevon Looney, Mo Wagner, Rachi Lyons. You're going to have Brown Jr. He's still going to be part of the roster as a guard. And Torrey Craig. So this is my thoughts on there. I was just thinking about the 76ers, and kind of them and the Nuggets are close to being in the same boat with one another. Let me know what you think on this. Which one of these two would you pick to go with going into the 2022-23 season? Like I said, just my suggestion is for the 76ers to make one big splash, because after the next two seasons, if they haven't gotten to the NBA Finals or got to the Eastern Conference Finals, then I'm afraid they're probably going to blow this thing up and start the process all over again. And I know that's something I something that you 76ers fans want. So just let me know what you think in the comment section, and appreciate you watching, and you all enjoy the rest of your day.